going on, Bold Nation? This is LaserBolt coming at you with another product review. In today's review, guys, we are going to be reviewing the Live Gamer Ultra made by Avermedia. And with the amount of capture cards that are out in the market, what makes this capture card stand out of the rest, and why this might be one of the best capture cards you could probably pick up. So if you're like me, guys, one of the first things you did was definitely pick up either one of the new consoles, a PlayStation 4 Pro or an Xbox One X. And of course, if you did went ahead and purchase this, I'm pretty sure the majority of you picked up a 4K TV. Not only did you pick up a 4K TV, but you also picked up 4K TV with HDR. Now, some of you might just have a 4K TV that has no HDR, but it still doesn't matter. You're going to want to go ahead and be able to not only play in 4K, but you're also going to want to be able to capture your content in 4K, because this has been the biggest issue as of right now. The biggest issue is you have a 4K monitor, you're playing 4K, but you can't capture video footage on a 4K. Now, especially if you have a 4K TV and it has HDR, you can't use that TV or monitor to its full potential, because capture cards aren't allowed to not only capture 4K, but they aren't allowed to capture HDR. Now, that was a big issue last year, but this year, guys, thankfully for Avermedia, they went ahead and solved this problem. Now, if you guys are looking to capture 4K and HDR, I highly recommend you guys check out my review of the Live Gamer 4K HDR variant. But this one, the Live Gamer Ultra, allows you to capture 4K footage and still enjoy the beautiful content in 4K and HDR if your TV supports it. So let me give you guys a quick scenario. You're playing a game, you have HDR turned on, you're running it in 4K, and you're like, man, I want to capture this footage. What's the problem that we have right now? We go ahead and plug in the capture card. We have to turn off the HDR to be able to capture 4K. Now, with this one, the advantage you're going to have is you're going to be able to be plugged into your capture card. You're going to be able to play the game in 4K. You're going to have the option to actually be able to turn on the HDR on your console and enjoy that beautiful content and not have to worry about having to turn it off when you're capturing. This is what makes this capture card very different. Not only that, but there's also different specs that we're going to go over that makes this card totally different than any other portable capture card or any external capture card. Now, as you guys know, there's a couple internal capture cards that will allow you to capture 4K. You're going to have to plug these to your PC, but this one in particular is an external capture card. You're able to not only use this outside of your PC, but you're able to take it to your friend's house or anywhere you go that you have a nice laptop that you're able to record footage with. You're able to carry this with you and still be able to record 4K and still enjoy the HDR content. Now, I'm pretty sure that just by that alone, you guys are already super stoked about this capture card. You're like, yeah, boys, not only am I going to be able to capture 4K, but I'm also going to be able to play in HDR. Well, it doesn't stop there, guys, because you're going to be able to capture footage in 4K at 30 frames per second. This is definitely really good plus, and the majority of us are currently not only capturing but playing footage or games at 4K and 30 frames per second. Now, the advantage of this is, let's say you're playing a game that requires you to have 4K and that it allows you to play at 60 frames per second. As you guys know, for those of you who don't know what frames per second are, is how fast your TV or your monitor processes the graphics that are being displayed. The faster it is, the faster it will process it. So the majority of the games like FPS, like Call of Duty, and games like that, the majority of them are trying to make sure they're running at 60 frames per second. The reason being is because they want to make sure the graphics are being processed as quickly as you possibly can. Now, one of the disadvantages you had with other capture cards is that you weren't able to plug in your capture card and play at 60 frames per second and also capture, because it wouldn't allow you to capture because you're playing at 60 frames per second and it's trying to capture that frame, but you're not allowed to. Now, the beauty of this card, it's that it allows you to play at the 60 frames per second, but the capture card will record the footage at 30 frames per second. So basically, it just gives you that pass through once again, guys, just like it does with the HDR. It will allow you to play in HDR 60 frames per second at 4K, but the capture card will capture the footage at 4K 30 frames per second. This is amazing because it doesn't hinder you from actually playing the game the way it's meant to be played, but still it gives you the option to be able to capture the footage without having you to turn off different options within your console to make your gaming experience that much better. So how is this capture card able to do that? Because, you know, the majority of capture cards aren't allowing you to actually be able to capture 4K, especially an external card. Well, the way this is going to allow you to do that is because it comes with a brand new USB device. That is the USB 3.1. The the majority of capture cards that are currently right now available in the market usually come with USB 3.0. So what exactly is the difference between USB 3.0 and USB 3.1? Well, it's a big difference, guys, because you're able to transfer 50 gigabytes per second on a USB 3.0. That's the standard one. That's usually your current capture cards. That's how fast they're transferring. Now with this one, you are fortunate enough to capture 10 gigabytes per second. So it's double the amount, which allows you then in total to be able to capture that 4K footage with an external capture card, which it's extremely good because it gives you the advantage of you being able to move the card around if you need to go to your friend's house, if you need to go to your sister's house, wherever it is that you're going. It gives you that advantage of you being able to take the card with you and not being forced to have an internal card in your, kind of in your PC to be able to capture 4K footage. Now, one thing I do want to let you guys know, if you guys do not have a USB 3.0 port, or if you guys only have a USB 2.0, this capture card won't work with you. So I highly suggest you guys definitely go ahead and make sure that your computer has a 3.0 port, or preferably a 3.1 port, because it's going to make not only your life much easier, but you're going to be able to enjoy the capture card the way it's meant to be enjoyed. But I know some of you guys might be asking, Laser, I'm planning to upgrade to 4K, but right now I don't have 4K. Can the capture card still be able to record 1080p? Yes, guys, the good news about this is you're going to be able to record 1080p. Plus, you'll be able to record 1080p all the way up to 120 frames per second. Yes, guys, you heard it correctly. You're able to go all the way to 120 frames per second as long as you're recording 1080p content, which makes it cool because you guys definitely could upgrade later on in the year. If Black Friday's coming out, there's going to be some really good TV sales or monitor sales. You're definitely going to want to pick up your monitor, but you want to be ready to be able to capture 4K with this bad boy. Now, one of the neat features about this capture card, guys, is the software. The software alone is worth the amount of price you're paying for the capture card, because the software allows you to do everything right off the bat. You want to capture footage, you're able to do that. You want to capture footage and also record your audio while you're capturing footage, you're able to do that. You want to be able to stream off the software, you're able to do that. You want to be able to stream and also shadow record, or in other words, record without overlays, you're able to do that. You want to be able to add overlays to your stream and off the capture card, you're able to do that. So the software allows you to do a whole extensive amount of stuff that you're not able to do in other softwares, or that you would need external softwares to actually make other capture cards work. That is a neat feature, and definitely I have to give them a high five for being able to include this within the capture card. One of my biggest drawbacks with other Avermedia products was that the recenter wasn't 100% working properly, but now I have to give them credit that with this new recenter that they've launched, the software works flawlessly. Not only that, but it allows you to be able to have a one-stop shop for everything that you want to do, whether it's streaming, whether it's recording. You're going to be able to do that from the software. Now, I'll have an extensive overview of the software in a different video. If you guys would like to see that, let me know in the comment section down below and hit those like buttons so you guys could definitely show me that you guys really want to see that video coming out soon. Now, aesthetically, the capture card is really solid, guys. I love the size. I was expecting this capture card to be a little bit bigger than when I saw the first picture, but this capture card is actually a really relatively small size. If you compare it to other capture cards, the only difference between this and maybe a different capture card that I will not mention is the thickness of the capture card. It's about the same size as a Pebble. And not only that, but it has a lot of vents, which I have to give them a lot of credit, because one of the drawbacks of these, especially the external capture cards, is they'll tend to heat up. And I gotta point two things out that they did really well. Not only did they add vents on the top, they added vents on the sides. Plus, they also added little rubber tips on the bottom of the capture card. What this will allow you to do is it's going to allow you to raise that up, raise the capture card a little bit higher than normal, which is going to allow that airflow to flow into the capture card and not have the capture card overheat. Another plus that I want to give them is where they give you the option to put the HDMI in and the HDMI out. Usually some capture cards, what they'll do is they'll put the HDMI in one side and put the HDMI on the other side. What makes this upsetting to me is the fact that if you like cable management like I do, you're going to want to have these two inputs on the same side. And big props to Avermedia for actually putting them on the same side. Not only that, but on the opposite side, you have the USB 3.0 Type-C connector, which makes the unit really well. Another nice feature that they always include in their capture cards is giving you the visual aspect of being able to see when you're recording and when you're not recording. The capture card on the front display will light blue and then will light red when you're recording, so it gives you that nice feedback of letting you know exactly when things are being recorded and when things are not being recorded. So aesthetically, I definitely have to give them a plus for this capture card. Basically, this capture card does almost everything you possibly could want out of capture card. Now, like I said, if you guys are looking for a complete capture card that captures 4K and gives you HDR, definitely check out my other review of the Live Gamer 4K HDR, which is an internal option. If you guys have a really solid PC, then I highly recommend that. Talking about PCs, let me give you guys the specs you will need in order to be able to run this capture card. You need Windows 10 or higher. Of course, you're going to want to make sure your graphics card is 1060 or above, and that could be NVIDIA or anything that you use. You're going to make sure that your Intel Core is i5 or higher, so it could run smoothly and have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. And you guys should be able to run this. Now, if you're planning on using this on a laptop, let me give you the specs that the laptop is going to need. The laptop is going to need an i7 77,000 or higher. It's going to be needing an NVIDIA graphics card, which is 1050 or higher. And you're going to need about 8 gigabytes of RAM. Please make sure, guys, since this capture card is going to be powered by the USB 3.0, so make sure it's Intel chipset because that's going to be highly recommended. So now to the good stuff, guys, and my final verdict of finding out if this is LaserBolt approved or it's not. So let's talk about the pros of this capture card. Not only does it allow you to play your TV in 4K HDR plus 60 frames per second as it's meant to be played with certain games, but it also allows you to record that and not have to worry about you having to downgrade in order to capture that. It comes with a Type-C USB. Definitely kudos to them for that. Aesthetically, the capture card is very solid and a lot of ventilations to avoid overheating. And of course, one of the biggest plus is the capture software that comes included with the capture card, allowing you to do everything in a one-stop shop. If I had to knock this off for some specific reason, and that is kind of a long shot, guys, is definitely how thick the capture card is. I would wish it was a little bit thinner just for easier transportation. I also would have liked them to include like a little pouch so you could take it with you. That would have been really neat. And maybe having a better display of when you're recording instead of a line. Maybe the way they did it with their portable device back then, where it had like a little Avermedia circle and it would light up. I think that would be the only drawbacks that I would find in the capture card. And that is actually outreaching, guys. So is this card LaserBolt approved or is it not? Yes, guys, 100% this is a LaserBolt approved product. So I highly recommend you guys definitely pick this up if you're trying to find a capture card. Don't forget, guys, like always, if you have any questions in regards to the capture card, leave them in the comment section down below. I will be having a comparison video with the Elgato, so you're definitely going to want to check out that video when that goes live. And don't forget, guys, for all things gaming and tech, make sure you guys keep it locked on this channel, and I will catch you guys on the next video.